The world's biggest internet company is running out of cash. The stock was at an all-time high, now it's in freefall. And everyone on Wall Street is saying the same thing. Amazon is finished. The year was 2001. Amazon had crashed from $113 down to $6 a share, a 90% collapse. Lehman Brothers analyst Ravi Suria had put it in writing, by the end of 2001, Amazon would burn through its cash and file for bankruptcy. And the newspapers ran that report on the front page. This wasn't a rumor. This was an obituary, on the record. But was Amazon really in that bad of a shape? Or was this just panic, or maybe a deliberately crafted narrative? And maybe the biggest question of all, what if it actually had collapsed? What would the internet look like today? In this video, the real story of Amazon's 2001 crisis, what was happening behind the scenes, and what the world would have looked like if Amazon had gone under. To understand this, we have to go back to 1994. Bezos came across a study showing that internet usage was growing at 200% a year. He paused, said to himself, "I can't miss this train," and walked away from his Wall Street career. On a cross-country road trip, his wife Mackenzie behind the wheel, Bezos wrote the business plan along the way. The first product, books. Why? Standardized catalog, easy to store, low return risk. But the vision in his head was much bigger, the everything store. He founded Amazon out of a garage in Seattle. In 1997, the company went public at $18 a share. He made no promises of profit, "We're growing, we're reinvesting." And investors bought it, because that was the mood of the era. Then, 2 years later in 1999, the stock hit $113. Bezos was on the cover of Time magazine. Everything was flying. Then March 2000, Nasdaq crashed. The dot-com bubble burst. By 2001, Amazon stock had fallen to $6. The company reported a loss of exactly $1.4 billion. This wasn't speculation. It's all in SEC filings, stock tables, and Wall Street Journal front pages from that era. The official story: Amazon tightened its belt, survived, and grew. But when you look at Amazon's 2001 annual report, you see something different. The company didn't just cut costs, it also developed an open marketplace model, which later planted the seeds for AWS. That shift is a footnote in the financial statements. But in history, it was a turning point. The dot-com crash wasn't just an economic crisis, it was a crisis of trust. In the late 1990s, calling yourself an internet company was enough to raise millions without a real business plan. Pets.com, Webvan, BOO.com, all of them burned through fortunes with no real customers, no real revenue. Amazon was different. It had real customers, real sales, real logistics infrastructure. Look at the cloud computing market today. AWS still runs roughly 1/3 of the entire world's cloud infrastructure on its own. Netflix, Airbnb, Spotify, Uber, all of them ran on Amazon servers during their early growth years. This isn't a coincidence. It's the direct consequence of decisions made in 2001, stretching all the way to today. Amazon was never comparable to those bubble companies. But in a moment of panic, Wall Street didn't bother to tell the difference. Every morning during that period, Bezos woke up knowing, if a few investors say no, if a few banks shut the door, the company is gone. And those decisions were being made in conference rooms none of us will ever know the names of. Every app you use today, every online order you place, every music service you stream, all of it got to where it is because of decisions made in those rooms. In Amazon's 2001 SEC filing, these are the numbers. The company reported approximately $1.4 billion in losses for the year, but in that same filing, it also disclosed that in the final quarter, it had turned a profit for the very first time. Just $5 million. A small number. But it was a signal. Ravi Suria's report said, Amazon is going bankrupt. Amazon's annual report said, Amazon just took its first breath. Both of them read the same numbers, but they saw completely different things. By the end of 2001, Bezos told his executives, every dollar we spend needs to earn its place. From that point on, Amazon began working toward opening up the massive server infrastructure it had built for its own operations to the outside world. In 2006, that idea became Amazon Web Services, and the internet was never the same again. The decision that saved a company would go on to create an entire industry. But hold on a second. What if those few investors had said no instead of yes? What if Bezos had run out of cash 1 quarter earlier? These are the questions history books don't ask. Let's ask the real one. What if Amazon had actually collapsed in 2001? We have 2 possibilities. The most likely one, Amazon collapses, and e-commerce gets set back by a generation. Because the logistics infrastructure Amazon had built, warehouse management, return systems, shipping optimization, falls apart. The workforce scatters. The institutional knowledge disappears. eBay existed, sure. But eBay was peer-to-peer, it had no corporate retail infrastructure. Large-scale, reliable online shopping wouldn't have arrived in the 2010s, try the 2020s, at the earliest. And since AWS never exists, Netflix, Spotify, Airbnb, these companies either grow far later, or, honestly, they may never grow at all. We might never have heard of them. So what's the second possibility? Let's say someone else builds cloud computing, Google or Microsoft. Maybe later. Maybe more expensive. Maybe less accessible. What AWS actually did wasn't just technology, it was democratization. 2 people with an idea could run a global application on a small budget. In an alternative cloud world, would that democratization have happened? I seriously doubt it, at least not at the same speed. And the startup ecosystem would look like something completely unrecognizable from what we have today. Which version of the world would have been better? We genuinely don't know. But here's what we do know, Amazon's survival was not an accident, it came down to a handful of decisions, a handful of yes, a handful of months' worth of cash. And that gap, that margin, is what shaped the world we're living in right now. People say the dot-com crash is ancient history. But AWS is still carrying roughly a third of the entire world's cloud infrastructure right now. Amazon Logistics isn't just shipping its own packages, it's created competitive pressure that's forced UPS and FedEx to completely reinvent themselves. Same-day delivery as a standard, drone delivery experiments, all of it is the direct legacy of that "tighten the belt and stay alive" decision made in 2001. Amazon's story shows us that this company was never just an e-commerce store, it was an infrastructure transformer that used crises as leverage to build entirely new industries. Do you think, without Amazon, we'd be placing an online order every 10 minutes today? Could 2 people with an idea have built a global app without buying a single server? If you're into stories like this, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell.